My grandparents, when I was young, tried to bring me up going to church. I didn't grow up in a Christian household. About the time I was 16 and I could drive, I turned my back on God.
I grew up in a Christian household where I went to church every Sunday. I really didn't like it. I felt like it wasn't for me. I felt judged, that I didn't fit in.
10 years later, I find myself divorced and trying to run a business that's failing, and my only concerns were money and partying and women.
I got married. At the age of 21, I had my son, and at 22, I had my daughter. And at the age of 23, I was divorced. I started a new job and started hanging out with a group of friends who I hadn't seen in a while. And Randy walks in the door.
I met my wife, Whitney. We started dating, and not too long after, we moved in together. And
our friends warned us, you know, we're pretty much oil and water, and we would never, ever work out.
we weren't doing it right at that point. You know, I was still drinking a lot. We would get in fights and arguments, and just things weren't good.
I had some coworkers tell me about this church 1122 and how great it was. And then clients also started telling me about 1122. So I really kind of started to consider it.
Sitting on the couch, messing with my phone, and I open up an email, and it's from a friend of mine, and it was asking for inspirational Bible verses and to send to somebody who was in need at that point. So I Googled inspirational Bible verses, and I got on a website, What Christians Want to Know. And I started reading, and 3 hours later, I was still reading.
After coming a few weeks, I decided I wanted to surrender my life.
I was realizing I couldn't do it on my own anymore, and I got down on my knees and I asked God to save me. I said, I can't do this.
I kind of thought by asking the Lord into my heart and doing things right and going to church that life was just going to be perfect. Then Pastor Joby had his sermon on lust, and after the lust service, me and Randy went home, and we kind of just thought, we live together, we're going to church, we have our family, you know, we're doing things right in God's eyes, but we really weren't.
Whitney and I went home and we talked about it, and I just didn't really feel comfortable. I mean, I felt like we had been doing great, and I was praying every single night and praying every single day and praying all day and praying at work, and I can't still be doing this wrong. And we had to accept that while we had given up on some things, we weren't fully surrendered yet.
He moved out of our bedroom and was living on the couch for a few weeks. And a few weeks went by, and we decided, hey, let's go get our marriage license. So we go downtown and we get it.
She asked me who we were going to get to marry us, and I said, I want to get married in our church. She goes, I don't think they're going to do that. You can't just walk in and say, marry us. And I said, well, I'm going to let them tell me that.
So I kind of laughed and kind of doubted it and got knots in my stomach, thinking like they're not going to do this. There's no way. About that time, Pastor Joby is now walking into the lobby, and we start talking and we tell him our story, and he says, you know, I will absolutely marry you guys. The
following Sunday, after the 1122 service, he married us in the sanctuary, and I'd say that would be when I fully surrendered to Christ.
I'm very thankful that I listened to those coworkers and those clients who continued to tell me about the church, and that we made the decision to come. And now that we get to raise our children in a church environment who absolutely love coming to church, and that we are now walking our path the right way.
I turn to Jesus now. I turn to prayer, and I feel upbeat. I don't feel beat up by life anymore.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.